Welcome, everybody, to Night of the Nerdy Laser Podcast, episode 123. I'm your host, as always, Richard. This is a very dark movie, Yule.
And I'm Jeff Lown.
And alongside of us, Jeff, we have a friend of yours and now a friend of mine. He goes by Vampire Mike. How are you, sir?
Very good. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Where do you hail from?
I'm in New York.
It's Vampire Mike from, you told me and I can't remember.
Oh, Sega CD Universe. My YouTube channel is Sega CD Universe.
I love the Sega CD.
Same here.
Oh, I need to watch that. What's
It's
your favorite game?
On the Sega CD?
Yeah.
I'm really partial to Snatcher, Double Switch, and Ground Zero Texas, and Wirehead.
That's fair. Double Switch and Ground Zero Texas were my games growing up.
I knew Richard would know any game you said.
I mean, Sewer Shark is actually my favorite. That is a solid game. I mean, that's one of the best games they have.
I've beaten that a couple times. It's very good.
You know, I never beat it as a kid because
it's hard.
It's hard, but every time, because there's no saves, right? Like, pretty much, you have to play straight through. And so I got to the end several times, but it always glitched on me and stopped at a certain point. And I don't know if it was my CD. I'm guessing it was, but it was never at the exact moment. But so it would freeze up, and I would just sit there and be like, I guess I have to turn it off now.
Do you think we can just throw Jeff out and just talk about full motion video?
Yeah, we'll just talk about Sega CD. Do you know what the Sega CD is, Jeff?
It's an ancient relic from times past, yes.
Man, I remember that was such a huge deal, like when it came out. That was one of my, like, I have to have this.
Was that when Nintendo, or when, was it Nintendo? Was that around the time when Nintendo tried to, like, make a PlayStation? Or did that merge with
it was around that. I mean, it was a little earlier.
I was going to say, because they would probably try to be coming up with a competitive console like they still do these days, right? It seems like everything
virtual. They were putting a lot into Virtual Boy. But anyway, yes, this is a horror podcast. You have not stumbled upon the Sega CD podcast, even though I'm all down for that. I had a 3DO too.
I have one.
Sure, yeah. I'm sure Jeff doesn't know what a 3DO is. I had a 3DO up until about 15 years ago.
I love the 3DO.
I had a 3DS, so
that's the younger brother.
Yeah.
Okay. You would love 3DO. They had a Demolition Man game.
Oh, wow.
Good.
A side-scrolling, I think it was a side-scrolling Demolition Man game.
And it's got first-person shooter stuff in it, too.
Oh, really? Yeah. It has different stages. That's right.
That's kind of interesting. My favorite Arnold video game, though, is True Lies on Super NES.
Good one.
Yeah.
Is that a top view like Jurassic Park?
Yeah.
Super? Yeah.
Man, fun stuff.
Well, this is a horror podcast. And it's Christmas time. So why not let Vampire Mike pick a movie? What movie did you pick?
I picked Elves with Dan Haggerty from, I think it was 1989, I want to say.
Yep. It's what you get when you cross like Nazis with Grizzly Adams and some weird troll creature. I don't know.
So did you all watch this? Like, I know Jeff hadn't seen it and he watched it recently. I'm still angry about his overview of it. But did you watch it recently, Rich, or had you seen it
today?
Today. Oh, okay.
Yeah, my famous tagline is I've never seen it. So this is for sure a movie I've never seen.
Okay.
And unfortunately,
you still didn't see it because it's dark.
Yeah, I mean, I still can't see it because when I said it was a dark movie, it's not like, ooh, it's scary dark. It's like, no, it's literally dark. I mean, a VHS is basically the only way you can watch it. And then somebody ripped it onto YouTube and it's just not a good copy, but it's the only way to watch it. Realistically, it was never officially released on DVD either, right?
Correct.
How is that possible? Like, that's crazy to me that a movie bypassed DVD.
It reminds me exactly of Rocktober Blood initially, because that was the same way where I think it might have had a VHS release or something like that. But I watched a rip on YouTube and it was so dark. And I was like, you can't tell anything that's going on in here. So kind of a bummer, but that's what I was reminded of.
I mean, it's kind of like Rad. I mean, Rad never had a DVD release, you know, not an official one. And then it's like, oh, here's a Blu-ray and 4K and DVD.
And the new VHS that you got, right?
But, well, I mean, I don't have it yet because, you know, I bought it from Vinegar Syndrome. So probably March of 2025, I'll get it in. Because it was part of their Black Friday sale. So Lord knows it's still knee deep in orders laying on the floor probably. But yeah, anything Rad, I almost have to. I'm like, I feel obligated to purchase. So
who was the guy you interviewed from Rad?
I mean, Bill Allen. Yeah, I've talked to him. I interviewed him from the old show, and then I got to meet him in Knoxville. Somebody brought him into Knoxville. I don't know how they did it, but they brought him into a bar in Knoxville, and I got to meet him there, and it was amazing.
Nice.
He's very nice, but he's a little like if you say like Rad is seriously like my favorite movie of all time. So it's like it's a little disheartening because I'm like, yeah, I love the soundtrack, and I have the cassette soundtrack. Like, I mean, I have everything from this movie, and I'm like, it's the best soundtrack ever. He's like, yeah. I'm like, no, fucking really. It's the best. I listen to it every day. It's the best soundtrack ever. Don't you besmirch Rad, Bill Allen. But anyway, but Rad is a lighter movie, so the rips and stuff that existed, it didn't bother it too bad. But this movie is just, I mean, it's just so dark in spots where you can't even tell what's going on, and it's unfortunate because it's not a terrible movie. How did you? I mean, I've always seen the VHS cover when I was like going through video stores and stuff. So I knew what the movie was, but how did you discover it?
I think I discovered it because I'm a fan of Christmas horror movies, and I had somehow come across like a list or something, and I said, "Elves, this looks kind of interesting." And they showed the picture that, as you referenced earlier, looks something like it's out of Nilbog. So I was like, "Oh, I want to see this," and I must have watched it on YouTube. Also, I feel like I have a better rip on my computer that maybe I downloaded from YouTube years ago, and maybe it has since been re-uploaded in worse quality. Had I known that, I would have sent you a copy prior, but I digress. So that's how I found out about it, and it was kind of one of those things that was interesting yet so cheesy that it just was very endearing to me.
Yeah, well, I think with it not having the newer gen releases and stuff, it's kind of gotten lost. It reminds me of To All a Good Night, that the other slasher, I think from 1980, but it's a Christmas based one. I just watched it because it was on Shudder. I thought I had never seen it, but when I went to review it, it was already reviewed. So I was like, I must have not remembered it the first time. It feels very much like a mix between Black Christmas and more like slashery stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, Richard, you would like that one over Black Christmas because you really hate Black Christmas, right?
I mean, I'm not a fan. I
feel
like Christmas Evil was like that too. Like it didn't have a good copy until Vinegar Syndrome put it out.
That's also a slow movie. Like, I like that movie. It's grown on me, but it's very slow and almost like a character study.
Oh yeah, it's not a slasher at all. Like that's what I went into it thinking it was, and I actually ended up enjoying it more because it wasn't. But yeah, it's not. You're actually right. It is more of a character study and crazy ending, and just you can kind of. I mean, you kind of feel bad for the guy in a way.
Yeah,
for sure.
So I just want to say something really quickly.
Yeah.
To go backwards, you were talking about Reservoir Dogs. I don't know if you caught this on the stream. Rich was talking about Reservoir Dogs and Fargo and all these movies that are sort of, lauded as these very popular films. And Rich doesn't love them, doesn't hate them probably, but doesn't love them. The Big Lebowski sucks.
Oh, so that's another one where I heard about it for 10, 15 years. I finally
Exactly.
watched it. And I think it's a problem, right? Like I am fully aware of like movies. Our viewpoint on movies has a lot to do with when we saw them.
Yeah.
And how we saw them, like Freddy's Dead is my favorite nightmare. Why? Because my sister took me to the theater and I saw a Freddy Krueger movie in the theater.
Right.
And I had never done that before. But I mean, is it the best one? Probably not, but it's my favorite. So, and then there's that time I met Lisa Zane at the convention, and I spilled her water all over her pictures, and she left mad, and I just awkwardly walked away. Great experience.
So you didn't get a date with her then?
No. Luckily, I had already gotten her autograph.
Oh, good. Okay, as long as your copy was fine.
She was not happy. To be fair, it's her fault.
He was inflating the market on the signatures. He created a demand because she couldn't get any more, and he's walking away. He's like, I'll sell it for triple the cost.
It's just so funny. I'm so awkward in front of people like that. I'm getting less awkward, but this was a few years ago where it was really awkward.
Actually, before we got on the podcast, Jeff said it's going to be me, you, and Awkward Rich. That's how
Awkward Rich. Yeah, that is the name he calls me. Yeah,
that's it.
It's usually only around females, but yeah. I mean, the movie is a weird mix of things, man, and it's definitely crazy. Like if you say certain scenes that this, we mostly do a spoiler podcast, and this movie is I don't know 30 years old or whatever, so it doesn't matter, and you can't really watch it anyway, so might as well just listen to the podcast. So but I mean, it's just I don't even know how to explain it. There's Germans. There's a
absolute favorite part.
There's a daughter. There's a girl that is from a German heritage that cuts herself. It goes on ground, and this troll elf thing comes alive, and then she gets beat up by her grandfather.
The end.
Yeah.
Her grandfather's like, I slapping her.
I guess we should give kind of a synopsis. I mean, like, how do you guys normally do this?
It just kind of varies, but a synopsis.
Well, some movies are easier to explain than others, so I'll let you handle the synopsis of this.
I'm not the resident, expert on elves, but I will try. There's a young woman who works in a mall, and stop me if I'm wrong because I have a bad memory. Works in a mall. Dan Haggerty from Grizzly Adams fame wants a job in the mall. He's sort of like a drifter or something. Can't get a job. Gets a job.
As Santa.
Starts sleeping in the mall because he can't afford. I think he gets evicted from his trailer.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, so we're spoiling the movie. So there's an incest angle where the grandfather of the girl wants to create the perfect super soldier, and to do so, the girl is actually his daughter. It's not his granddaughter. He slept with his own daughter to create the main character.
Right.
And these evil elves are trying to kill people to use the blood to bring along these Nazi super soldiers because the grandfather's trying to sort of resurrect them from the dead or some crap. Is that it?
Yeah. Well, yeah. Like I think it's like to kind of grow their race, the elf race, is what what kept happening, right? Like, was there more than one elf? Because
I think I thought there was a couple or a few. Yeah.
Anytime she cut herself, it created more. And the grandpa said she was like a super weapon kind of thing, that they were using her to build the race of elves, because he said they're perfect killers. They're small. They're like little assassins at one point. And he says something else, but he's like, and I made a mistake. But in a German accent. Yeah, no, it's a crazy story.
And it's very Christmas themed, obviously, with the whole Santa Claus in the mall. And it has that kind of niche 80s Christmas mall vibe, which I enjoy. just like Phantom of the Mall, Eric's Revenge. I have a poster.
Oh my god, I love that movie.
I love that movie, and it's right here, the poster. Pretty much anything in a mall, I'm a sucker for. So that
And
might.
Chopping Mall, it was very reminiscent of Chopping Mall, which is his favorite.
I actually don't love that movie for some reason.
Because I have the tattoo of it.
Yes,
It's okay. I mean, it's one of those where I saw it decades later, and I mean, I think it's a fine movie. But if I'd saw it as a teenager, it would be much better.
Yeah,
to
agree.
me. But seeing it as a 40-year-old, I think is. I mean, we did it on this podcast, so it's been in the last few years. It just it is what it is. I mean, it's fine. I like the robots in it. They're great.
I actually prefer his movie, 976 Evil 2.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I like that sequel. What's his name? He's my friend on Facebook. I can't think of his name.
It's not Chiodos. That's the Killer Clowns guy.
Wazowski.
Jim Wynorski.
Wynorski. There you go. I knew it was something.
I like some of his stuff. He puts out some quality crap.
That's a good way to say it.
Yeah.
It's my favorite kind of crap.
That's right. So anyway, that's the kind of long and short of Elves. It mixes horror. It definitely has a little bit of a comedic tone to it at points. It doesn't feel fully serious. Like they knew, this is a joke. And the elves look like garbage. They look like rubber suit kind of puppet things. I don't even know.
They're very hard to see in this movie too. Like, I mean, and apparently even on the VHS, if you get a good quality VHS, it's still not that great. There's just and me and Jeff were talking, like, I mean, I wonder if that's why it hasn't been done, is that there's just not a good copy of it.
I wouldn't think, like, based on everything I saw, like licensing agreements, maybe it's whoever owns the rights wants more than what companies are willing to pay right now.
This is worth $10 million.
They did put out a record of the soundtrack, which I don't even recall the soundtrack.
Oh gosh, I feel like that TerrorVision did, right?
Yep.
They've been doing a lot of cool soundtracks.
They do a ton of soundtracks. I was in that world for a little bit, but I jumped out. But yeah, I do remember them putting that out. The music, I mean, I remember the music. It's a lot of music in there. Like it feels like there's not that much dialogue, and then there's a lot of like just music filler and such.
Yeah, and I also feel like there's a lot of, like, to go back to Troll 2. You remember when the boyfriend sneaks in to segue here? When the boyfriend sneaks into the girlfriend's house and she's like, if my dad sees you, he's gonna cut your little balls off, or whatever she says.
Yeah,
like the humor, that kind of weird disconnect with the nationality mix up with the Italian directors. Elves has a sprinkle of that, where I feel like some of the dialogue is stilted and weird.
Well, because this little kid, like 10 probably, walks in on his sister, and she's like, "You can't see me naked. I'm your sister." He's like, "Yeah, but I like big tits."
You got them. I'm gonna tell my friends.
Big tits, sis. I'm like, oh my god, what the hell are we watching?
I was watching that last night and just cracking up. I was like, no way, we're starting like this. That's another thing I want to talk about, is just kind of like this family dynamic, because the mom or whatever in this, she's just like, I hate you so much. I'm gonna kill your cat. And
I mean, I'm gonna have to have therapy over that.
That was a pretty hardcore scene where
it's brutal. She puts this cat in this pillowcase and then puts the pillowcase in the toilet, holds it there and drowns the damn thing. And I have 2 cats, so it's just like, I mean, that's hard to watch. Like, animal stuff doesn't usually bother me, but for some reason, I just feel like that scene, that's like such an innocent animal, like especially at the time, and just such a cruel thing. It's like we're watching young Michael Myers or something.
So it doesn't go for you, Rad Gummo? Gummo has some cat stuff in it as well.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. I don't mind dog stuff, but I had dogs, and even when I had dogs, I just feel like cats. I don't know what it is about cats, because they're assholes. So I should want them dead. I mean, mine are complete assholes to me. They love my wife, but they just hate me. So, but
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 yeah,
yeah,
the cat drowning was intense,
it is. It's just hard. Like it's hard to watch. Like
and
maybe that's why
everyone
there's not a good version of this
may,
movie.
maybe animal cruelty, but the it was directed by Diodato, but the everyone is so nasty to this young girl. I feel like
Yeah,
throughout the film, she's sort of like what she's supposed to be like 18, 19, right?
Yeah, I would think. Yeah,
And her mother's an asshole, the grandfather's an asshole and a Nazi. There's people trying to kill the grandfather, right, at one point.
yeah,
Her friends are sort of assholes sometimes. Grizzly Adams isn't even the nicest person really at the beginning. I mean, he's sort of warmer, I guess, but he kind of
yeah.
comes off like a little gruff
But then he
initially.
sleeps in that room that has a chalk outline. I'm not really sure what's happening and all
where
that.
that other mall Santa got killed by the elf and
Oh
eaten.
yes, yeah. It's kind of like Tim and Eric's $1 billion movie with the guy sleeping in the mall. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, good reference. Nice. The mall manager was rude to her for no reason too.
yeah, exactly. That's what I wasn't thinking of Grizzly Adams. Yes, the mall manager was rude. Everyone was kind of an asshole to this young girl who didn't really do anything wrong.
Yeah, I didn't understand that dynamic, and like she does set up like a really good joke. Like she's like, "Oh, this is going wrong for me. That's going wrong for me," and she's like, "I'm truly the definition of like a single person." And she's like, "Please don't take my cat." And then the very next scene was the stepmom drowning the cat, and I thought like the timing, how they set that joke up worked like so perfect. Like, and then I kind of was like, okay, I get this movie's not like totally serious on itself, so.
Yeah, yeah. I think I like the movie a good deal, and probably it sounds it a lot more than you guys did. But because I like Christmas and I like horror mashed together. But there's a quirky weirdness to this of like kind of throwing in the kitchen sink, and that's what I appreciate. I don't know if it
Oh no,
necessarily
it has
works,
everything
but
for sure. Yeah,
but
it has everything for sure. Like
yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, it's got everything from Nazis to to elves to a mall Santa, and who was
Can
he was a police detective, right?
That's what I was gonna say. Can we talk about his like second career that like you didn't have any idea he had? He's like, and his overacting is like my favorite. He's like, I'm not going back, guys. I'm not doing this anymore or whatever. You're not a detective anymore. And then all of a sudden he's like, all right, let's crack the case. What happened? He's like talking to cops and like going through boundaries and stuff. And they're just like, oh, you.
He,
Oh,
he he definitely has a great character presence, I feel.
yeah.
Um, he's kind of that like man's man, tough guy with his feathered hair. Um, I didn't watch Grizzly Adams. It was probably a little before my time, but I
Yeah,
know of
mine
it.
too. I know of
Um,
it too.
so I thought he was a kind of cool, hulking kind of guy with like a warm exterior, and I appreciated that. I thought that was kind of a cool part of the movie.
Kind of reminded me of Chuck Connors in Tourist Trap.
Okay.
Kind of, he's just kind of like, hey, I'll help you out, and like just a
Yeah.
big athletic kind of dude, and you could tell, and just
Right.
I
yeah,
love Tourist Trap.
That's a good one. It's not my favorite, but I like it.
It's
yeah,
good.
I thought it was cool.
And its sequel, Wax House of Wax from 2000, because it's kind
Pretty
of the
much,
same thing. Yeah, I mean, for a Christmas movie, like Christmas horror movies, we've been talking a lot of this year. We did like a list of like 5 of our favorite Christmas horror movies. And then what did we do last week? Oh, we did It's a Wonderful Knife last week from Shudder. That's currently the talk, Um, so what other than like Elves, what's like your list of 5 good Christmas horror movies?
Does Scrooged count as horror? Sort of.
I
Yeah,
mean, it terrified me as a kid. I did not
Yeah.
like it as a kid,
As a
I
kid,
mean,
it's
the
like,
cab driver
oh
and
yeah,
all that. I didn't really like it. But Christmas Carol is kind of a horror story anyway. I'd probably throw it in there, but it's definitely not a straight comedy. I mean, it's comedy horror, I'd say.
yeah. I mean,
That's fair.
I really love Scrooge. That's my favorite Bill Murray and probably my favorite Christmas movie. Um, Elves, obviously. Um, Silent Night, Deadly Night, one. I think 2 has a couple funny moments, but it's not very good.
Yeah.
And then I like some of the sequels.
Yeah, I mean we're big fans of Silent Night, Deadly Night Part 5 because we've become friends with Brian Bremer, who played Pino in it, and it's just such a wacky movie, and I love killer toys too, like, and the rollerblading scene is just a masterpiece. Like, no, those are good ones. I mean, Silent Night, Deadly Night 2, I like to watch because it just takes all the good parts from one and then gives you another story too.
Yeah.
But that fourth one is dog crap. I hate it.
Yeah, I like all of them. 2 I felt was just obviously too much recap, but
Yeah, it's a lot.
yeah, but I like 5 a lot actually. It probably goes to me like 1, 5. You know, I think it was what's the one with Bill Mosley? I didn't like that one too much.
3 is the one when I just find it funny. It's Bill Mosley.
Yeah, I don't know. That one's okay. Is that the one with the guy from Twin Peaks, Eric Dar? Eric, the guy with the curly black hair.
Oh, maybe I think.
Yeah, I think that kind of intrigued me because I like Twin Peaks a lot. But I'm trying to think what other Christmas movies that are horror oriented. Christmas Evil we mentioned earlier. That one's a good one that's grown on me.
What do you think about well, it's known by many things, but Dial Code Santa Claus?
I don't think I've seen it. I think I started it. It's in a different language, right?
Yeah, it's like is it Norwegian or something like that?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah,
yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I was just gonna say it's the Home Alone. It's the horror Home Alone kind of.
And Vinegar Syndrome put it out, and I think Joe Bob covered it one time.
Yeah, Joe Bob covered it, so it got some. Not many people had heard about it until all that happened. It's fine. I like it.
Yeah, I didn't see the whole. I think I started it. I have this thing as I've gotten a little older where it's hard for me to focus on things in other languages. So unless there's dubs, sometimes I can't focus.
That's fair.
And my wife has a problem where if the mouths don't match the words, she gets angry.
Can't watch it. Yeah.
So I have a couple like shank marks on my side here from, like Kung Pao and whatever other movies Stephen Chow has created that she's like watching. But yeah, so I didn't finish that one because I remember thinking like I can't focus on this right now. It's getting late. I'm tired, type of thing.
Yeah.
So
I mean, it's what I like about our podcast. We just go all over the place. So I'll just mention Dead Snow because it's one of my favorite movies of all time too, and we've never covered it, which is funny. So we'll probably have to do that, Jeff.
I thought were we going to cover it at some point?
I think so, but then we just
didn't. For this or Trash Talk?
No, not Trash Talk. No, that's not. No.
I don't know why.
But my favorite way to watch Dead Snow is with the dub because it changes, it amps up the comedy in that movie so much, and so like I just feel like Dead Snow is like the perfect horror comedy to me. But most people say Evil Dead, but they're wrong.
Oh, I don't like Evil Dead.
Oh, right there with you, brother.
Oh man, I don't like the series at all. I think it's. You're gonna lose some viewers on this one.
Oh no! I mean, I do this. I've already pissed everybody off.
Oh, okay. I think it's just really try hard, sort of like goofiness, and it's so try hard that it bothers me. So when I watch them, I'm like, oh, these should check all my boxes, but they actually, it just the whole series turns me off. I just cannot get into it.
Yeah, even the newer ones I don't really like. I mean, the remake was okay. I mean, I like that one probably the most. But I like Army of Darkness actually, but I like it as a comedy and not, I mean, it is a comedy, but like I like the fact that it's not trying to be a horror movie, like because I don't like Evil Dead as a horror movie. So, well, but anyway,
hopefully
Jeff's gonna get mad if we keep.
Jeff doesn't have a tattoo of Evil Dead, right?
What happened?
Do you have a tattoo of the Evil Dead?
Yeah, I got a tattoo of Evil Dead.
Do you really?
Yeah.
No, Jeff is covered. Jeff is covered. Oh. Jeff is covered in tattoos. So let's just keep
We'll just keep insulting movies, and he'll just keep pulling out tattoos. That's good.
Yeah, I know Richard won't say nothing about My Bloody Valentine, so I'm safe there.
That's true. That's one of my favorites, man. I love My Bloody Valentine. I like both of them. I like the remake as well.
They were good. Yeah, they were good.
But I love that original. I don't know why. I don't know why I like it as much as I do, but I do. Um, well, to get back on elves, like what I do know one thing, Jeff. You know
What?
who doesn't really like elves and thinks it's slow, from what I heard?
Oh yeah, are you talking about Jason down at the dungeon?
Our pal Jason down at the dungeon here in Maryville, Tennessee, where you can get all kinds of things, such as Blu-rays, DVDs, VHS tapes, lots of horror VHS tapes. You got vinyl records, CDs, cassettes, all sorts of physical media goodness is available at the dungeon over on East Broadway at the roundabout in Maryville, Tennessee. But don't you worry, if you don't live here, you can go on Instagram and you can search Southland_Dungeon. Check out all the things that come in on a daily basis. He posts pictures. If you like them, send him a message and y'all can work that out. You can also go to the website, southlandbooksandcafe.com, to find out more about this really cool place that has the dungeon, a cafe, bookstore, and all sorts of stuff. So check that out for us. We love Jason over there. But yeah, he told me, I just saw him because I usually go there before the show. I don't know why. I mean, I go there every day basically, but he said he found it slow and dark. But it's funny because I was like, "Have you ever seen Elves?" And he turned around and he picked up the video cassette off a chair right behind him. He's like, "You mean this?"
Did I have a friend in Dixon, Tennessee. Is that anywhere close?
I don't think so. I don't think so. I mean, I don't think it's that far away. I wonder if that's closer to Georgia, but I could be wrong. If it's like Tennessee's such a weird state because like everybody's like, oh, Graceland. It's like, no, that's 8 hours away. I'm better off just going down to Florida. Like it's literally on the other side of the state. You have to drive the entire length of Tennessee to get there. It's
Wow.
like 8 or 9 hours away. So because I've always wanted to go to Graceland, and I've heard Memphis is just a crap place. But whatever. I don't know. But yeah. So Elves. Look, I feel like I can't give it that fair of a rating because I mean, I have never been so mad at like a copy of it. I mean, you can ask Jeff. I was just like, you have to find me another copy. He's like, there's not another copy. I was like, no, you have to find me another copy to watch.
Yeah,
I mean,
no
I would have paid
stories.
$30 to rent a good copy of this movie.
I'll have to look when we're done. I think I feel like I have a better version on my computer.
But I mean, I appreciate kind of like what Jeff was saying, like it's all over the place, and like you said, like the kitchen sink kind of thing. I do kind of appreciate movies that do that. I mean, some that come to mind are like the Spookies. Of course, that's a whole thing in itself.
Mm-hmm.
But I do like when movies just go all out and they're just like, and this happens, and this happens, and then this, and then there's this, and it just goes all over the place. So, I mean, I don't know if they thought this was going to be a big movie or if it was just always originally going to be straight to video. Probably straight to video at the time. I mean, '89 was kind of the heyday of straight to video. Maybe mid '90s. I'm not sure. But certainly, like '88 through like '98, was probably a great time for VHS, especially direct to video.
Yeah. It felt kind of like a. Oh God, what was I going to say? Oh, keep going. I forgot.
That's why we keep Jeff around.
Yeah.
That and the tattoo references. That's right.
Yeah.
Where's you gonna get an Elves tattoo next?
Yeah. No. So I was gonna say it kind of reminds me of like a full moon features kind of film.
Yeah.
Well, I was gonna say that too. Like
nice and dark, like Castle Freak, where you couldn't see anything.
Yeah, Castle Freak is kind of tough too. I kind of viewpoint all these movies that have like these kind of covers as full moon, right? Like as a kid, I thought they were all just full moon movies because they all kind of looked the same. They had these like crazy good posters because we know that Charles Band, that's how they picked movies a lot of times. They would just do the poster first make some crazy awesome poster with this great artwork, and then film the movie around it. And this sort of feels like that too. Because like where it's not like, you think it's going to be about elves, like little green hats and they're Santa Claus's elves, but there's some kind of Nazi blood underground elves that
it's like the elves from
are more like trolls.
I just realized we were talking about other Christmas horror movies, and I completely forgot to mention Don't Open Till Christmas.
Oh, I've never seen it.
I think I saw a bad VHS rip of that too.
What's with you guys watching bad versions of things?
That's all we do, man.
Yeah, it's not. It goes very well with Pieces. So if you've seen Pieces, watch Don't Open Till Christmas with it. They're both really fun.
And Vinegar Syndrome put that one out too, right?
Yep, both of them. I think both of them.
Don't Open Till Christmas. Somebody put out.
Yeah, that was Vinegar Syndrome. I think Pieces was Vinegar Syndrome as well.
No, Grindhouse.
Grindhouse. Yes, you're right. Grindhouse. I have the poster over here of that too.
Yeah, well, that's a fun movie. I love that one.
Yeah.
P2 is also very good. We talked about. I like P2.
I just watched that.
P2.
Yeah. The name. It's not nobody remembers it because of the name, but it was like 2006 or 7, Jeff.
Yeah, something.
And
09.
It's got Wes Bentley in it, and I forget the girl's name. But the name is terrible. So, but it's referencing the parking garage. So it all takes place in this parking garage.
Rachel Nichols is the actress.
Yeah, Rachel Nichols. So basically, it's this girl leaving this office party, Christmas party. She's going to her car in the garage, and basically the entire movie takes place in the garage with this like psychopath, like cat and mouse kind of game thing. And it's solid. You should check it out. Did
you review this on Letterboxd, Jeff, recently?
P2, yeah. I just
probably.
Okay, so that's why, because I saw it pop up and I was like, what is this? And I think I may have read your review or saw your score or something. But considering your Elves score, I don't know if I'm going to use you as any kind of bar any longer to pick movies.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Did you already review Elves? Does he already know what you view?
Oh yeah,
yeah.
I'm surprised he came on the podcast.
Well,
he said he unfriended and the message was reported. So
yeah, and considering my conversation with you a moment ago about Evil Dead and The Great Lebowski and how much I like Elves and how dark it was and you couldn't see it, I don't know if you're going to have me on again, but we'll see what happens.
Oh, me and Jeff rarely agree anymore, so it's fine. No, I mean, I think that's the deal, right, with this movie. We'll kind of wrap up. If there's anything you all want to talk about, feel free to, after I just state that, like, I mean, my score is probably going to be lower than most, just because, the copy's not good. I fell asleep about 11 times because, I mean, it's dark. It's a dark movie. I'm in a dark room. I couldn't stay awake. And but it is a crazy ass movie. I will say that. But are there any final words you want to mention about Elves, Mike?
I mean, I think I would say if you can take your horror not so serious and like that, again, good reference, Full Moon-esque, goofy horror kind of thing going on, schlocky. I think there's a lot on the table in Elves that you're like, wait a minute, what? Nazis? Wait a minute, what? Like Nilbog kind of characters, and I think I just like the stew. I like all the pieces of the soup there.
Yeah,
so
I think upon multiple viewings, the movie actually probably could get a little better. Because you would catch things like that and just different things. So yeah, Jeff, is there anything you got before you rate it, or you want to just start your rating?
No, I think we covered it pretty good and still left it, enough out there that people could go give it a watch and see what they think for themselves. But yeah, so mine's 2.5. I bumped it up from my 2. So And I think chatting about it with other people that have watched it makes it a lot more enjoyable.
It
'Cause
does.
you're like, what was that? Like, because you can sit at home by yourself and you're just like, oh, that's stupid. But if you don't tell somebody that knows, they're like, it adds something to it. But yeah, it's watchable, and I'd say one to put on with some friends and chat. It's a good one.
I was gonna give it a 2, but I mean, most of that has to honestly, I think if I could see the movie and I could watch it in a good form, I think it's a 3. I really do. And so the way we rate stuff, Mike, is so we rate it out of 5, and
Okay.
then but we start at 2.5. So the way me and Jeff view it is we like every movie starts at a 2.5, and it's up to the movie to go lower or higher.
Okay.
So when we say 2 and 2.5, that's not really that bad. It's I mean, we have had a few ones, I think.
Can
But
you name one of your ones? I'm just curious.
I feel like I gave one. Let me go ahead, Mike, and talk about your rating,
Um,
and I'll see if I can find it.
I think because I have a little bit of a, I wouldn't call it a nostalgia, but some kind of nice, warm Christmas fuzzy feeling. I would give it a 3.5, maybe 4. It's not like perfect. It definitely does have lulls, but it's so absurd that I find it fun. Kind of like Texas Chainsaw Next Generation. It's so absurd.
Yeah.
I find it really fun, even though it's not necessarily a good movie. But I think they knew what they were making with Elves, and I appreciate that. I like that video store fodder kind of feeling.
Yeah, I agree. Did you find one, Richard?
No, I'm kind of having a hard time. If I mean, I know there's movies that were like low scoring, but I can't find one that. Oh, Lawnmower Man, that was such a good
Love Lawnmower Man.
How about
Lawnmower
Guild
Man.
War?
Our episode of Lawnmower Man is great because I was in this VHS kick and I watched the director's cut of Lawnmower Man. So I'm talking. Have you ever seen the director's cut?
It's really long, right?
Well, it's really long, but they add in this chimpanzee dying.
Oh
And
no,
and so
I
the
know of it.
regular movie literally cuts the entire monkey scene, him running away to the house and all. It's not in the movie. So Jeff and Matt, who was with us at the time, they were like, "What are you talking about?" They thought I was crazy.
Yeah,
So
we're
they
like, I
had to
don't know.
look it up. We were watching it on YouTube during the podcast. It was like
I wish
crazy.
I wish I could get up and show you. I have a copy of Lawnmower Man on the Sega CD right next to me.
Oh
Oh,
my gosh, it's a game. So I have a copy over there. It's a PC, but I've never played it. But I found it for like $1,
Yeah,
and I had to buy it.
same game, I'm pretty sure, but obviously it's grainy and not so great dithered
Yeah,
on the Sega CD.
when they did a Super Nintendo game too, I think, right?
Yeah, I think that one's more straightforward. I want to say, kind of a little more normal. This is the Sega CD one is a full motion video, like on rails, have to move around at certain times, type of thing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, Jeff, I might have found one of your ones.
what was it?
Repo the Genetic Opera.
Yes,
Jeff hates that movie.
I hate musicals as well, and when I put that on, I had to shut it off.
So
I love it.
I like Sweeney Todd with Johnny Depp for some reason. I don't know. I like it. It's something about it. But the Repo just, I was like, no, I can't do it.
Can I just say something briefly? I know you're looking to wrap up. Have you guys seen Dead End Drive-In?
I don't think so.
Mm.
So it's really fun. It's an Australian post-apocalyptic movie. I love post-apocalyptic films where these people get stuck in a drive-in and they close them in there, and they're running like a compound full of these like young adults or adults, I guess, and they're not letting them out, and it's almost like a jail. The cover of the film looks like Giles from Buffy or from Repo the Genetic Opera, the
Yeah.
guy,
Oh yeah.
Anthony Head. The movie turned me off from watching it because of the cover for so long, because it looked like a really like homoerotic musical.
Yeah.
And then I realized it's not Giles from Buffy and it's not a musical. It's a really cool post-apocalyptic film. But it always reminds me of it when I see of Repo the Genetic Opera because it has that sort of look to it when you see the cover.
It was called Dead End Drive-In.
Yeah, I think that was also put out by Vinegar Syndrome a couple of years ago.
Okay, so I was just looking stuff up, and I wound up on Facebook, and this is timely. This is timely because apparently it says filmmaker Charles Band marries actress Robin Sidney.
Huh.
That's crazy, right? Because I mean,
I'm
there's
sorry,
an
who
age
is she?
difference. Robin Sidney, she's done she's done a lot of full moon stuff. I think like Ginger Dead Man. I feel like she was in that. Some of the newer stuff, but
Was she
anyway,
in
congrats
Elves?
to him. If she was, I couldn't see her. Thanks, Mike. Where can people find you?
You can find me on YouTube at Sega CD Universe, on Twitter, Sega CD Universe. I'm on Facebook, but the page has devolved into nerdy and video game memes. So people seem to appreciate that. So I'm all over the place. You can track me down, and I appreciate you having me on. I had a lot of fun, so thank you.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
it'd be cool to have you on again. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I mean, I like that me and Jeff did a movie that neither one of us have seen because
Yeah.
usually it's one way or the other, especially if it's an older movie. So yeah, appreciate you coming on, and that's all we got, guys. What are we doing next week, Jeff?
We're doing Five Nights at Freddy's, aren't we?
Oh yeah, Five Nights at Freddy's. That was my pick, much to Jeff's chagrin.
I was like, I don't think we'll be the demographic for it, but we'll give it a shot.
Who knows what the demographic is for anything?
Well, when you
Have
watch,
you seen? Have you
I'm
seen it?
sorry, I have not. But when you go back and watch Don't Open Till Christmas or Dead End Drive-In, you give me a call.
Okay, we might do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, guys. So look forward to that. And until next time, what should they do, Jeffrey?
They should keep it bloody.
Because somebody has to if they can see it. Anyway.